Maryland. And we're underway from Capital One Field at Maryland Stadium. Penn will control first and have the opening offensive possession. Sophomore season off strong, trying to avoid that sophomore slump. And now Maryland will control here and look to have a response on the other end. It's Jared Bernhardt, this senior from Longwood, Florida. One faceoffs in that matchup against Maryland last year, his second highest total of the season. Wins this one again.
Game immediately provides a goal.
First goal of the season for junior Matt Rahill out of Chalfont, Pennsylvania. And again, it's Garragher to scoop it up for the Quakers. 6 shots apiece between these two teams season.
And you talk about Jack Brennan already getting a couple of games under his belt. The freshmen for Maryland have been able to become incorporated into this system now that John Tillman is trying to install. Well, for Penn on the other side, it's trial by fire for the freshmen. Not only do they have to play on the road, a lot of different systems, experiment, see what works, see what doesn't. So they look far fresher than the Maryland Terrapins who went to overtime last week.
Still a fight for possession as the ball is down on the carpet. Eventually picked up in the end by Penn. Owen was harping on the fact that Maryland needs to communicate on both sides of the ball. He kind of equated that to really why Maryland was able to turn the game around against Richmond. We showed you those stats at the beginning of the game. Now inside, a shot and a save there by Birkinshaw. Fair that neither team has really been able to get a clear upper hand so far.
I think a lot of that can be attributed to Chris Brandow. Those 4 saves early on were huge to keep Maryland in the game when they were losing a lot at the X.
Garragher brings it all the way down and now 2, and that's really been a key area for John Tillman. In really the past couple years, Maryland hasn't had a definitive, clear Fogo that can just dominate in every game. We've seen them switch it up a few.
2 coaches. Who do you double team? When do you double team? And can the Maryland defense rotate quickly enough?
Second goal of the day for Sean Lully, and again, the Penn Quakers win the faceoff with Garragher. Game against Richmond last weekend. Fight for it here, and again, Garragher scoops it up for the Quakers. From the other way very quickly. Runs into the Maryland defense, looking to escape it. A tie up here, and flags go flying as expected. Slump here with 2 goals through not even a full first quarter. Stalemate at the X here. Flicked on, and Shockey eventually scoops it up for Maryland. Guy. There hasn't been a Connor Kelly. There hasn't been a Matt Rambo for Maryland, where obviously lots of offensive talents, but here's Shockey going down and a save there by Birkinshaw.
Lions in quarter number 2, they held Penn State scoreless, so obviously a different team this year, but can they come up with a similar response?
The teams have swapped ends with the same result as Penn has won the faceoff. And that a lot in this afternoon margin, because obviously it's Maryland and Penn we're talking about here. The game can switch very easily, but the stat sheet, it's pretty even. Penn has 19 shots to Maryland's 15. And points and 5th in assists last year as a freshman. Rolling that ball along the turf is Garragher. Struggling to keep it is Ferraro.
And Penn able to get the 3-goal lead off of the unforced turnover.
Very easy win for Kyle Garragher. We head back to the face-off X, where Maryland has really struggled. Curse of the commentator there is Justin Shockey wins it for the Terps.
2 or 3 talk things over. A worst case scenario, I think, would be a very good opportunity for Maryland. John Tillman just needs to keep this team close, but if Penn keeps winning those faceoffs, it's going to be very difficult for this Maryland defense. Penn was giving up and to exploit it.
Well, if you're John Tillman, you're happy, because when you're chasing this game a little bit, you need to take those man-up opportunities to get some of those goals, to get it back. Now Matt Rahill was able to scoop up par. You can see some of the fans sitting on the opposite side of the stadium. Typically they're up, or they're down underneath of us on the near side behind the 2 benches, but with it being so cold, they're taking every advantage they can to sit in the sun. Locked up here, and now Maryland controls with under 30 seconds left. Now Maryland will try to find another response to prevent this game from getting out of hand. He's scooped up by Maryland. That one from Jake Higgin, the transfer from Cleveland. 6. Part of the reason he was on that watch list for the Tewaaraton Award. Now here, he has a hat trick in his first game of his senior season. Scooped up by Maryland. Action for the Big Ten Network. And Ben, things is starting to get a little bit out of hand for Maryland. Now, we saw they were able to come back against Richmond, but this one feels a little bit different.
And it's because they keep on winning face-offs and they're able to get ground balls as well. Maryland really hasn't had a whole lot of opportunities. The team doesn't go away without a fight.
We showed that graphic in our open of exactly what you just explained, how Maryland in that game started the first quarter really well, ended with the fourth quarter really well. In the middle, a bit of a lull. Here, it was kind of a first half lull, and now you're finally, with 3 minutes left in the third quarter, seeing Maryland come alive a little bit. Loose on the near side, a scrum, fight for possession. Eventually, Penn comes away with it. It's James Shipley bringing it down. Shipley all the way, save Brand. Maryland with the goals from Logan Wisnauskas and Daniel Maltz in the third quarter. But now a quick win here by Penn. Fires in an assist of the day and fourth through 2020 so far. Those two could have a little bit more to say here in this context, as Shockey with a crucial face-off win for the Terrapins. Really, Maryland's done a lot better in that facet here in the second half and as time has gone on.
Late penalty. Got 4 goals, tied with Jared Bernhardt. He's been flying all over the field as well, making hustle plays. That's a way to endear yourself to a new team.
Absolutely, and to really have the biggest game of your young career come in Maryland's biggest test and most dire moments of the early season so far has really been impressive for Daniel Maltz. Scooped up by Maryland, and Rowan putting a 12 overtime win for Maryland, just to show how close of a game it was last year. It might very well be a close game here again, and everything we've seen thus far certainly points in that direction.
And not only does Maryland have the momentum, but it has experience with this year.
The 1-goal advantage. We head back to the face-off X, which has really been, I mean, we've had a lot of great goals, we've had a lot of great defensive plays, but that's been a very interesting facet of the game as well, because Maryland struggled so early on, but has really turned things around, and another win by the Terrapins.
And they're